of Somersaults, a folk tale from Mexico. The name of the girl in this story is Paz. Paz was born in Spain, but when she was still very young, her parents died, and she was sent to Mexico City, as a matter of fact, to live with her Uncle Carlos. A sad beginning for such a young child. But luckily for Paz, her uncle was kind and generous, and he had a big, beautiful house, and she had her own room. There were servants to take care of everything. And Paz, well, she loved dresses. She loved a new dress, all different colors. And Uncle Carlos, well, anything that she needed, he wanted to give her. And he would take her to the dress store and let her try on a dress and get her a new dress. She'd take it home and swirl around in it and come to dinner that evening. Those times she was pretty happy. But she never went out on the street, down the street to see who else was there, just to the dress store. Well, sometimes she did go outside, but that was out on the balcony, and Uncle Carlos noticed her out there. And one day he joined her to see why she was out on the balcony. She was watching, looking down the street, watching three girls playing, turning cartwheels, doing somersaults, running around down in the street, laughing and playing. And Uncle Carlos watched Paz watch them, and he knew what she needed: some friends. "Hey, Paz, I'll walk with you down the street. I'm sure they'll play with you. People are friendly here. What do you say? Shall we go down the street and I'll introduce you? I know their families." "Are they princesses, Uncle?" Well, no, they're not princesses, but they're lovely young girls. I only play with princesses." And she turned around and walked back inside. But the next day, she was up on the balcony watching again. And Uncle Carlos got an idea that he was going to do something anyway. And he did. He made a play date with one of the girls, Juanita, for the next day. And Juanita arrived with her mother, knocked on the door and came in. Juanita had a lovely dress. He knocked on the door and said, "Paz, I made a play date for you today. Come down and meet Juanita. She's one of your neighbors down the street that you're always watching each day. Come on down." Paz came down, not very happily. She came down the steps and she looked at Juanita and she said, "Are you a princess?" And Juanita said, "No, I'm not a princess, but we can have some fun. I only play with princesses." And Paz went back up the steps and slammed her door. Well, Juanita did not stay much longer than that. But Uncle Carlos was not going to give up. And a few days later, he invited Rosa, another of the girls down the street. But once again, Paz came down the steps. "Are you a princess?" "No, but I only play with princesses." Up the stairs, slammed the door. Oh. He tried again. The other, Carmelita. Carmelita came. Carmelita was ready to play, but Paz was not. "Are you a princess?" "No, I am not, but we can have some." "I only play with princesses." Off she went. Oh, Uncle Carlos felt sorry for his Paz. She must be lonely. The next day, you could hear horses, a carriage and horses coming down the street. Pa's heard them. Uncle Carlos heard them. Pa's ran into her room and put on her beautiful dress. The princess is coming! The princess is coming! They went out on the balcony. The carriage went right by their house. And the princess climbed out of her carriage and played with the other 3 girls down the street. They were laughing and running and chasing and doing cartwheels and somersaults, and Paz watched and then went back inside. The next day, Paz was in a very good mood at breakfast. And she looked at her uncle and she said, "Today's my day." So she put on her beautiful turquoise dress and she went out on the balcony and waited for the princess to come to her this time. But no one came. And Paz went back inside. And the time went by, and a few months later, Uncle Carlos died. A sad, sad thing. And Paz had grown to love him, and she was sad. But then she thought, well, at least I'll have all these dresses and this beautiful house and the people taking care of me. So I'll be okay. I'll be okay. The next day, the will was read, his last wishes, and Uncle Carlos wrote, and they read out loud. All of my possessions, my house, my servants, all the dresses, everything, everything, everything will go to Paz, but only if she does 3 things. Paz could not believe it. 3 things? What could they be? What could these 3 things be? It was read. Number 1, a stage must be built in front of our house right here. Number 2, signs must be made inviting all the neighbors to come to a performance on the stage. Number 3, the performance on the stage will be Paz turning 3 somersaults in front of the crowd. If she chooses not to do these 3 things, my estate should be sold and all the money given to those in need. That is my last desire. And the reading was over, and Paz was upset. I am not gonna turn somersaults on a stage in front of all those people that don't. I am not gonna do that in a million years. No way, no way. And in bed that night she was thinking, but where will I live? And I may never have a beautiful dress again. So the next morning, she told the servants to build the stage. And signs were made, and that the next day she would turn these somersaults. Well, the next day came sooner than Paz wished, but she put on her beautiful turquoise dress, and she went out on the stage. And there were lots of people there. Everyone was curious about this girl from Spain who seemed to think she was too good for anyone else. And she looked at all those people. They did not look so kind. Oh, and there were the three girls, Juanita and Rosa and Carmelita, and they were standing right near the front. Oh no, even they were there to make fun of her. But she took a deep breath and she turned a somersault. And everyone laughed. Everyone laughed and roared and clapped. And she stood up and tears were rolling down her cheeks. And she looked down at those three girls and she thought they're going to be laughing too, but they were not laughing. They were smiling. You can do it, boss. You can do it. You can do it. She couldn't believe it. So she got ready and she did number 2 somersault. And people weren't laughing quite so much. They were smiling. And then she stood up and she said, I'm about to do my 3rd somersault. And for this, I would like to invite my 3 friends, Juanita and Rosa and Carmelita, to somersault with me. And then, if you kind people will be my guests, I would like you to come into my house for refreshments so that we can all be friends. And they came up on stage and they did a somersault. And everybody cheered. Everybody cheered. And Pa's had some friends at last. And from then on, she had many, many friends. And she was often seen walking up and down the street, greeting everyone. In fact, they named the street of the somersault. La Calle de Machi... Oops, I almost said it wrong. La Calle de Machicuapa. The Boulevard of Somersaults. And that's the story.